I thought the testimony was compelling, just as watching Laurence Olivier act is very compelling as well.
When Lyle Menendez, in his Laurence Olivier performance, was questioned...
Have you ever been sexually abused?
How do you know they were sexually abused?
Have you ever?
How do you know they were abused?
And they had doors behind their door. Do you know what fear is like?
How do you know what went on
For
behind
you?
their door?
Do you know what fear is like? I'm tired of hearing Laurence Olivier, by the way.
believe him.
It's getting boring.
That's right.
It's getting boring.
Now, that's where he's on the stand saying that he was molested by his father. You don't believe this?
I like to cast him as Lyle Menendez. He's so good of an actor.
Why do you say this? Tell me why.
Because there's no way somebody who's a 6'2" strapping hunk of a guy, a week prior to, now he's not the one who was supposedly being molested at this particular time. It was Eric a week prior was being molested by supposedly Jose. But look, you spend 3.5 years in prison, you're going to come up with something. This came out of nowhere. I don't buy it. I don't believe it. I never have.
The father was a womanizer, wasn't he?
Completely. His son Lyle hit on me at the wake.
I believe in the sexual abuse. I am having a very hard time with the sexual abuse I have from the beginning, Joan.
Why?
I think when a guy goes to a psychologist and talks about all the burglaries he has committed and talks about the murders that he did in graphic detail, but happens to fail to mention that his father had sexually abused him, I find this very, very difficult.
Did you ever consider that any of the reports of this abuse were exaggerated in order to aid the defendant?
I didn't find that there was any exaggeration. I found it to be corroborated by a number of people, the kinds of abuse that Eric had.
Well, but how do you know those number of people didn't get together beforehand?
Oh, I'm going to object to that, Your Honor. It's calling for speculation.
Overruled.
How do you know the people didn't get together beforehand? You don't, do you?
Well, there wouldn't be any way to know that there'd been a meeting of the teachers and the coaches and the extended family and the people that have spoken here. There wouldn't be any way of knowing how, but I think that's highly improbable that there was ever a meeting of people saying, well, let's make up and exaggerate the facts of this boy's life.
Where was he physically located when you interviewed him?
He was in the, first time was in the attorney's room.
He was in the Los Angeles County Jail, right?
Yes.
Did you think that might be a motivating factor for why he talked to you?
Objection, Your Honor. Asked and answered.
Overruled.
And I'd object also that it's calling for speculation.
Overruled.
Did you consider the fact that he was incarcerated for first-degree capital murder to be a motivator in what he was telling you?
Well, I knew that he was in there for having been involved in the killing of his parents. I knew that.
Well, I think it's irrelevant if she's going to leave it at that because obviously the people know that the defendants had no access to that material, or they'd be in here with the sheriff's department proving what was in their cells.
Well, it's certainly proper cross-examination of an expert to discuss the materials that are available.
Dr. Burgess, if a person wanted to convince you that they had been sexually abused, one of the things that you would find persuasive would be the amount of detail you were given, correct?
Objection argumentative and calls for speculation about what some other person wants to do.
Overruled.
Well, detail is one of the criteria that one does take into consideration in the evaluation of a statement.
Is it possible for a person to fabricate that kind of detail?
Well, for a person to do that, they would almost have to have a Prince library to be able to search out that kind of material.
Did you ask him any questions about his sexuality?
Yes.
And did you receive any information from him about his sexuality?
Yes.
And did you consider that information in deciding whether or not the detail he gave you came from a source other than his father?
I took that into consideration.
And did you reject the notion that he could have gotten this information from someone aside from his father?
Yes, I did reject that.
And why was that?
Because of the information he gave me. There was no other history.
Right, and so you accepted as true what he told you about his sexual history, is that correct?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and he would be bright enough to memorize or repeat a tale about himself that wasn't true, isn't he?
Objection or argumentative.
Overruled.
He is, isn't he?
Well, I will say he's certainly of average intelligence, and how people memorize things, usually recall, he possibly, no, I'm not going to say that I have any evidence of that in terms of his memory and reciting things. I think he tried to do that in one of his courses.
And are you familiar with the fact that Eric Menendez had aspirations of becoming an actor?
He enjoyed drama lessons. I know that was something cited in the material.
Okay, and are you saying that his intelligence is not sufficient to memorize lines or scenes sufficient to become an actor?
No, I'm going to object to this as it goes beyond her expertise and what it takes to be an actor.
Sustain, rephrase the question.
Did you consider his intelligence and his acting in evaluating the truthfulness of the information that he gave you about what had happened to him?
I took that into consideration, yes.
Did you reject those?
Yes, essentially, yes.
And if I were going to tell you that I had been abused, then the presence of those types of things would be corroborative. Is that correct?
Well, not necessarily. You have to look at many more things, and that's what I'm trying to say, is you just don't take one bit of information. You have to put it in the total picture.
What was the nature of the case? Well, let me ask you this. Did you ever read any of the cases that Lyle Menendez asked you to look up?
Well, I read parts of them, yes.
And did you get a feel for what kind of cases you were looking at?
Yes.
Could you describe the nature of the cases that you were asked to look up in Xerox for Lyle Menendez?
The cases were situations where children had gotten off after killing their parents.
Were there any other kind of cases, any other subject matter of a criminal nature that was involved in these cases you were asked to look up?
Not that I recall.
Anything about child molesting?
I believe so, yes. I mean, the cases were, child molestation, and, children had killed their parents and gotten off them, yes.
All of them that you read had that same theme.
Yes.
They were charged with killing their parents. They claimed they were sexually abused, and they were acquitted. Is that correct?
That's what I remember, yes.
Are you aware that the cases that are published are cases that go up on appeal? That is, they're at a second level of review.
No.
Are you aware that if someone is acquitted or found not guilty, there is no appeal?
I guess so.
Are you aware that there are no published cases of children charged with killing their parents who claim sexual abuse and are acquitted? Did you know that?
She also indicated that Lyle Menendez had made what we call a fresh complaint about sexual molestation to her. But interestingly, this fresh complaint was not made to her until the second or third interview with the defense attorneys and until after the third visit with Lyle Menendez at the county jail. And you'll see the slips that show that she went to visit him in the county jail. It's very suspicious that this particular fact was not even brought forth until after she'd been interviewed by the defense investigators 2 or 3 times. If an actor like Robert De Niro or someone like that had 3.5 years to sit and think about a script and 3.5 years to get ready for a performance, do you think he could do it? Do you think an actor, a professional actor, in 3.5 years with only one script to study and one purpose in his life could get ready and act? Well, this defendant is more motivated than any Academy Award seeker. Photograph of Lyle Menendez in the backseat of a car, and I think Lyle Menendez testified that he was purposely looking sad, that he trained himself to look sad when he lost because that's what his father expected. Remember, Lyle Menendez said that his father taught him to be the master of his emotions. He indicated that he purposely looked sad when he lost because that's what was expected. This is an actor in training, ladies and gentlemen. Ask yourself, how tall was the person who took the picture of his brother in this photograph? On the same roll, you will see another photograph of the dishwasher. You see? And look at the height of the person who took this particular photograph. I suppose Mr. Menendez could have been stooped down when he took a picture of his dishwasher and his son. Who took these photographs, ladies and gentlemen? It's very easy for the defendants to say their father took them. He's not here to say he didn't. Talk about Eric Menendez. Mrs. Menendez, according to Eric Menendez, Mrs. Menendez wanted him very badly to get a girlfriend. Mrs. Menendez was worried about his sexuality. Eric Menendez testified that he was concerned about his sexuality, and Eric Menendez indicated his father called him a faggot. So if you want to draw inferences about people's sexuality, let's look at the evidence in the case. What was it? Who were the friends that Eric Menendez referred to in the December 11th tape, the friends that he couldn't tell his mother about? What was the family's secret in this case?
When Lyle testified, you could have heard a pin drop. It was devastating. Even I had tears in my eyes and a lump in my throat. Everyone in the courtroom did. But I watched that same moment later on TV, and I realized it was all rehearsed. It was a brilliant performance. He and his brother were world-class liars.
We had reason to believe that Eric may have been gay, and we had actual physical evidence of it. And the reason we wanted to put it in is that, first of all, it's why Jose was upset, and it would explain how he could talk about sex with a man so well.
The prosecution argued that Eric's homosexuality was the key to the crime. They said that Jose had found out and that Eric was afraid he would lose his inheritance.
I began to realize that we had a really good case and that they were going to try to get out of it. And I actually told people, I think they're going to have to allege sexual abuse because that's the only thing I can think of that they can do to try to get out from under this. It was like watching a really good high school production. They had been in custody for a long, long time before we actually had the trial. And I am quite confident that they spent a lot of time practicing their lines.
Fondle me, and he would ask me to do the same with him, and I would touch him, and we would undress.
They did a fairly good job, and I was told by the bailiffs that after court they'd go back and they'd high-five each other because they'd done such a good job, you know, with their riveting testimony about sexual abuse.
To watch them get up on the stand and be so emotional in front of this jury, it was really unbelievable because I had seen their emotion the day of the murder and every other time that I had dealt with them, and they never showed any of this emotion. So of course it was a big act for them, and I could see that it was an act.
The impression I got about Jose Menendez's character was that he could be charming when he chose to, but that his basic nature was very abusive, and that he was abusive to his sons especially and to his wife. I knew that we could prove that the Menendez brothers killed their parents. But I also started thinking about, okay, let's say I'm a sleazy defense lawyer and I'm going to make up a defense. What defense would I make up? And I said, I think they're going to fabricate a sexual abuse defense because I can't think of any other reason why we're going to trial. And guess what? They did.
The idea that Eric and Lyle were abused by my sister Kitty is absolute insanity.
I thought that was pretty gratuitous and just thrown in as an example of how awful the parents were, that Kitty deserved to die too because she was complicit.
I saw reporters that were crying. It was just such a powerful moment, probably one of the most powerful moments I've ever seen in a courtroom.
They had 2 years to get ready for their testimony. I happen to know the defense attorneys were at the county jail almost every day. So, you know, put two and two together, they're practicing.
Assistant District Attorney Pam Bazanich calls the brothers' abuse defense a legal smokescreen.
I would bet everything I own and everything everybody else owns that it didn't happen.
I think they thought that the jury is not going to buy this defense, and so I don't think they really prepared a significant response.
David and I never believed for a moment that they were abused.
There is no medical evidence whatsoever to corroborate the claim of the defendants. There are no eyewitnesses. So how can they really say that the defendants are telling the truth concerning the allegation?
It wasn't anything that came up until after the attorneys got a hold of them. They're arrested and lawyers come in, and then the next thing you know, I was abused.
One of the relatives came to me before the trial started, and this relative said that she had been to visit Lyle in the county jail and that Lyle had told her what the defense was going to be. And she said, but Lyle, you know that's not true. And he says to her, well, that's how it's going to be.
78.
So she looks at me and I said, well, I can't call you as a witness, right? And she said, no, I won't testify to that.
I guess people who understand other people, who are empathic towards children, have the right perception of Eric. People who won't know and won't hear and won't understand, who are angry and hate-filled, don't.